Welcome back for more Skyrim with Requiem. I'm playing with the AZ Tweaks version of the mod. If you're not sure what that is, take a look at my last video where I go through it in some depth. Anyways, the character that I'm playing is a Khajiit spellcaster with the Shadowstone as a birth sign. The core idea of it is the Shadowstone gives a repeatable invisibility effect as well as reduced mana cost and increased attack damage while in darkness. So when I'm creeping around in the dark, my spells are a little bit more effective, and if you come out of invisibility and are casting a bolt style spell, there's a damage bonus attached to it. So in addition to that, the Khajiit have a bonus to their dual casted spells. So in theory, if I'm invisible in the dark and come out and attack an enemy that can't see me with a bolt spell, I'm getting significantly reduced mana cost and a damage bonus, which I think will be super effective at taking care of enemies. And so you're kind of seeing what that combat style looks like here. My spells are still not terribly powerful, and I get helped out by this wandering NPC mage who I was a little concerned was hostile, but ends up helping me clear out this little bandit camp. And I'm pretty early level here. I think I'm only about level 5, so just not terribly powerful. But my goal right now is I'm looking around for more of the treatises. So part of the AZ Tweak system is to take additional spell or crafting schools. You need to find a treatise, in other words, a skill book in the previous game. So I'm looking around for the alteration book that is located somewhere near Pine Watch. And my character is a disciple of Julianos, who also puts a high value on locating rare and interesting books. So let's just pretend that I got a tip that there might be a book here from one of my contacts rather than the true reality, which is that I looked it up on the wiki page. But anyways, after finding the treatise at this miniature bandit camp, which is, it's unmarked on the map, it took me a little while to find it, but then I'm sneaking away while invisible. The invisibility doesn't last terribly long, and so this bandit is able to spot me, and then it turns into a little bit of a running fight. And I purchased the Conjuration Treatise before I started this video because I realized that Destruction alone, I really needed something to tank for me because it was causing me a lot of problems. Like I would get chased down by these guys, and having a summon around helps a lot. But I don't really want to buy more treatise books if I can help it, because gold is still very scarce for this character. I'm not doing any crafting schools, so no easy gold from alchemy or whatever. And I really want to be able to save the gold that I find to put towards skill training, or more importantly, buying additional spell books, because I'm still pretty light on what my actual options are to use for that. One of the reasons that I went with a Khajiit as the race for this character, well, in addition to the cool bonus to dual casting spells, which I think is a neat playstyle, the movement speed bonus I think is a pretty huge buff when you're playing as a caster, because so much of it, especially in the early game, is about kiting enemies backwards so that they can't hit you easily, and doing stuff like dodging arrows, which is pretty important to stay alive. So I'm liking that style, although at the moment, in an ideal world, I'd be using my ice spells to slow down enemies and make that movement speed difference even more dramatic, but the ice spells that I'm using so far at this point just feel really underwhelming. They just don't appear to be doing very much damage. They have really low mana cost, but they take a long time to cast. So I'm kind of unimpressed with how effective those have been. And so I'm still using a lot of summons to try and distract enemies like these archers. And then, playing a little peekaboo game around this tree to while I wait for my magic to recharge and try not to get pegged in the face with one of these arrows, and then waiting so I can close the distance and finish them off with melee. And you can see sort of the difference between AZ Tweaks and base Requiem, because I think in the base game that Bandit would have gone down in just 1 or 2 swings of this refined steel war axe, and it's taking 3 or 4 here. So I've got my alteration perk, and I take alteration, and now I can start getting some extra level ups by spamming that. My next stop is over in Winterhold. I had already visited here so that I could join the college, and then there's this restoration book, the Exodus, which is tucked away in the basement of the Frozen Hearth. So I make a quick trip up there, grab the book so now I can take a restoration skill point, and then make my way over to Riften. And this might seem like a little bit of a random choice since I have no intention of actually joining the Thieves Guild, but there's some useful stuff to be found just down here in the Ratway. I particularly want to loot the items off of Gion the Fist, because right now I don't have any ring whatsoever, and his Ring of Recuperation is very nice stamina regen, and I'm also thinking that at some point I may want to start going with Unarmed as my damage source. Once I can get Transmute Muscles, that might actually be pretty good.
Now that I've got sort of the basics covered to have a functioning character, I want to see if I can take on White River Watch. Nothing particularly special about this bandit camp, but I need to go through somewhere to get some more loot, and this is as good a spot as any. So I think first step, I want to get my Night Eye on so that I can see a little better, and then I'm going to make a lot of use of my invisibility to try and get up into a good spot to pick off some of these guards. That's just a straight up miss. Seem to have lost aggro on me, so that's good. Just gonna wait here for a second. Get my magicka back up to full. Okay, one down. Oh, that guy must be really close. I think I'll get a skeleton into the fight. Okay, I can see one guy over there on the balcony. That didn't do as much damage as I might have hoped. So it's going to be very quiet. I hope one of these guys doesn't find me because I need to let the magicka recharge a little bit. Can I see anything? What's around me? Got him. Now I'm going to rotate back around to the front and see if I can make an approach from there. good news is that I took care of both of the ranged characters. So these guys are going to be pretty slow in approaching me. So that's the good news. Bad news is I don't really seem to be doing much in the way of damage. Yeah, that's pretty wimpy as far as damage goes. Extremely poor damage it feels like on this spell. Very disappointing actually. Low mana cost, really bad damage. And I think that was a guard? Okay. Well, I'm not going to complain. I think I'll take the mace and dump this steel war axe and keep the mace around. I think here's a spot I can take off the Night Eye. It's a little nicer looking when you don't have that on. And Fire Sparks is actually surprisingly awesome for being a low-level spell. The downside is it's just a little awkward because it's got that long pause before you cast it, but wow, that has some pretty ridiculous burst damage. That just kills bandits really, really fast. So it feels like Fire Sparks is probably my best spell for a lot of these fights, which is a little odd and interesting, but kind of cool. Also kind of cool is how high value some of these things are to sell. So those are kind of nice finds. I do need more food because I don't have any that are going to boost my magicka regen, but picking up a couple of those, that'll help. There's the guy I tagged right at the start. He doesn't really have anything useful. So let's just have Idar cheese wedge, and in we go.
Who's there? Look, boss was looking for you, said he'd be up at the summit.
With how my damage has been lately, I'm not even sure if I can effectively one-shot this guy. Okay, that was not very subtle, but it worked. Silver Scimitar, that is arguably better than what I'm using, so I'll just keep that around. And I think I want to have some kind of food to regenerate my stamina faster. And what I'd really like to find is somewhere to rest so that I can get a save in, because I'd really hate to lose all the progress I just made, because that took quite a bit of time actually. I can see, I think there's one bandit standing against the wall up there. I'm gonna sneak in and see if I can get some visibility of what they're doing. Okay, he's got a crossbow. Just gonna back up a little bit. Okay, I need to get a little more space to work with. So it looks like 2 bandits followed me out, and I don't know if one of them has the crossbow. So I'm hoping to kind of split them up. Okay, I can see a guy with a bow there. I'm gonna put on a mage armor just so I have some chance of surviving if I get hit by an arrow. That didn't really do anything. Okay, it looks like I've outpaced the archer, so I'm pretty sure I won't get hit by that. I just need to make sure I don't back my way into some kind of nasty animal that wants to kill me. Okay. Clubbed in the back. Another bandit down. Can't quite see where the guy is. Got him. And don't think he really has anything I care about. Okay, that still another archer. Still another archer. And it's funny, by putting away the mace, I actually get a significant boost to my movement speed. Can't quite see where that guy is. Got it. Okay, I think the crossbow is actually useful enough. I should just carry that along. Because he's got some pretty good bolts and stuff in there too, so I'm going to put that on a hotkey. Let's stick that on F1. Okay, so I think I've cleared the room with all the sleeping areas so I can finally get a save game. Pretty high density of enemies in this next room. So the first thing I want to do is put down a rune here so I've got a escape path, and let's just take down some food. Ooh, that was a little close. Now I'm just going to back out a little bit, wait for my magic to recharge, then I'll go back in and get those other guys. Wow, I should have been using a crossbow sooner. That made that much, much easier. That last spell was pretty underwhelming. But that's the end of him. Alright, so I think I'll hang on to the Iron Hand Gauntlets. 5%, wow, that's pretty pathetic actually. The Silver Warhammer is kind of a cool thing. Anyways, let's see what we found. Yeah, just some items to sell. Not too bad. Anyways, that's all I've got for now. I think the next plan is to head over to the Plains of Whiterun to continue gathering some loot, and then we'll just go from there. So thanks for watching. Hit subscribe if you're liking this series, and I'll see you in the next one.